You know, one thing I'm really getting sick of these days is people who are buying classic cars and they don't even know how to look after them. And it's not even particularly classic cars, it's just cars in general that are becoming a little bit more rare. But it's really sad because people keep buying them for all of the wrong reasons. And it's getting on my nerves a bit. Don't get me wrong, there's been a few times where I've been tempted to buy a classic car or a bit of an older car. I mean, for example, right, I really like the FCRX7, and you can actually pick up an FCRX7 for pretty cheap. I was thinking of actually getting one of these instead of my NBMX5. Let me quickly just specify though, not for clout or attention or anything, the RX7 is genuinely one of my favourite cars. But in reality, I just would not know what to do if things went wrong, and it's a rotary, so they can be a little bit finicky at times, but it would just be wasted on me, because right now I don't have the knowledge to own a car like this, you know. That's why I bought a Mazda MX-5, because it's a lot more simple. But people will buy cars like the Mitsubishi GTO, or like I said, the RX-7 FC, and be like, yeah, it'll be fine, I'll just fix it if it goes wrong, but they don't realise how much of a challenge it can be sometimes. Like, if an RX-7 goes wrong, sometimes you've got to do a full engine rebuild, or getting parts for a Mitsubishi GTO, you know, you might have to import that all from Japan. And it's not just older JDM cars where you get these issues. You can buy like an old American car or an old British car, and depending on where you live, and you know, parts can be hard to get. And it's not even just that, it's like I said before, it's the mechanical knowledge of knowing how to fix it when it goes wrong. There's actually a guy who lives on my road who's got an SW20 MR2, and when he first got it a few years ago, it was a really nice car, but over the years I've just seen it slowly rot away. It's really sad to see it. There's like big rust patches on it now, and yeah, it's just really depressing. It's one of the main reasons why these cars fly up in price, because a person who is properly enthusiastic about that car is going to look after it. It's going to make sure it stays on the road and it stays in nice condition, where someone who just wants it for attention and because it looks nice, it's not going to last very long. I mean, cars like this need to be looked after now for the next generation of car enthusiasts. And it's just sad to see a car like this that would be treated so well by someone else being treated this poorly. In my opinion, it's a bit selfish, and when people do it for clout, it is really annoying. But I mean, at the end of the day, it is their money. But I mean, getting a classic car for attention is just stupid. I mean, you shouldn't be buying an old car you can't look after for clout. It's just dumb. It's very stupid. The next thing that's a little less serious and just a bit more funny, really, that a lot of car people do for attention, is sticking fake badges and trying to make their car seem like a higher trim than it actually is. And this happens a lot with Honda owners, and especially BMW owners too, and they'll have something like a 240i, but they'll put an M2 badge on it. The funny thing about this is I'm not actually sure who they're trying to impress, because people who aren't particularly into cars might not even know the difference between an M2 and a 2 Series. So if you stuck an M2 badge on a BMW, they're not going to really care or know the difference anyway. For example, right, the other day I was walking through a parking lot with one of my friends. He's not particularly into cars, and I saw a Mark IV Golf R32, and obviously I showed a bit of interest, but he couldn't really understand why I was showing interest in this car, because obviously to him it just looked like a normal VW Golf. There wasn't anything special about it. But that's the thing, you're not even showing off to non-car guys, and the funniest part about this is it's not even like you're showing off to car guys, because obviously we have enough knowledge about cars to see right through it. I just think it's really funny though, because I'm like, I mean, who are you trying to impress? You know, this one really doesn't make sense. I just don't understand who they're trying to fool. And I mean, the thing I can never really understand is people will literally, especially for things like Honda Civics, where you've got the Type R, people will have like the base model Civic, and they'll go away and buy the higher trim cosmetics. For example, they'll buy like the Type R bumper and the Type R side skirts and the Type R spoiler, and they'll basically try and make their base Civic look exactly like a Type R. But I just don't really understand this most of the time, because why wouldn't you just save up the money you spent trying to make your base model Civic look like a Type R, and instead just spend that money actually buying a Honda Civic Type R? I mean, especially when it comes to modding your car, if if it's your first car and it's just a base Honda Civic, but your dream is to get the Type R, then you may as well just save up for it, or even like an SI or something, and then mod that, because you're going to waste so much money modding that car. I mean, it is down to personal preference, that you can do what you want, but I just think it's sometimes better just saving up for the car you actually want than spending loads of money on the car that is sort of just like a stepping stone. Not just that, when you go round to selling that car to then get the car you actually want, it's going to be so much harder actually selling that car, and then you're going to have to take off all the mods anyway. So I just think it's one of them things where, you know, you might as well just wait a few months or a year or so until you get the car you actually want, and then start putting money into that. But like I said before, it's all personal preference. I actually think this next one's quite sad because it holds back a lot of car enthusiasts from actually enjoying their cars just because they want a bit more attention, or they want to look a bit more like, you know, or they want a bit more clout. And it's when people buy cars they can't really afford, or cars they don't even really like, just because of the badge or how quote unquote prestigious that car is. It's actually something that a lot of non-car people do. They'll buy a car because of the badge, or they'll, you know, almost like a designer product. But I always think it's quite sad when car guys do it, because you don't actually love that car, you're just getting it for other people. They'll get it to impress girls or show off, but no one... The thing is, no one actually cares. For example, right, well, this is actually the main reason I made this video. One of my friends had been saving up for a few years now for an S2000. He'd always wanted an S2K. Like, this guy has loved S2000s for so long now, and he, you know, he'd been waiting years for one. He recently broke up with his girlfriend, right? And, you know, he's back on the market now, so instead of buying an S2000, he went and bought a Mercedes SL instead. And don't get me wrong, you know, they're not bad cars, they're pretty good cars, but I said to him, I was like, you wanted the S2000, so why would you want an SL? Why would you want the Mercedes instead? And his reasoning was, well, you know, I'm back on the market now, I'm single, so I've got to have something a bit nicer than a Honda. Oh my God, I think this is such a stupid idea. Personally, I don't think you should buy something that's meant for yourself to impress others. I mean, especially in this case where he could have bought an S2000 for the price it is now. I mean, the price in a few years' time, it could be totally unobtainable. But instead he bought a Mercedes, which obviously is going to depreciate, and he's not going to love it as much as he would love the S2000. This definitely wasn't the smartest decision he's made. But when he was with his girlfriend, you know, when he wasn't trying to impress anyone, he wanted the S2000. That was his true dream car. And then when he had the money, he bought something else just to impress others. At the end of the day, right, no one's going to actually care what car you have. If you enjoy that car, that's the main important thing. People are only going to turn heads if you pull up in something like a Lamborghini or Ferrari. And even then, if for example the S2000 is your dream car, buy the S2000, enjoy that car, especially now before the prices become way too expensive. But anyway, like I said before, it's all personal preference and it's however people want to spend their money, but I do think this is just a bit, I don't know. Anyway, what are some dumb things you've seen people do for clout or attention? And if you did find some enjoyment in this video, please subscribe. It is free, so you might as well. I will see you all very soon. Ciao for now.